Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Zevachim Daf Yudzayin. We begin 2 lines off the top of the Amud Tvul Yom. Back to the list of the Mishnah. Of those individuals, those Kohanim, who may not do Avodah in their estate, and if they do, the Avodah, the Karban, becomes disqualified, becomes pasul. So on the list we have a Tvul Yom, a Kohen who had become Tameh, immersed in a mikveh, but is awaiting sundown, which is the completion of his purification process. The Maral explains, the day that he had been Tameh has already been affected by his status. It's been tainted. He must wait until that day fully passes for the cleansing process to fully take effect. He must leave that day of Tumah. So if he's still prior to that phase, it's still a Tvul Yom. He was Tevel today. He's still somewhat Tameh, not as he was before Tvilah. He's dropped to a Sheni L'Tumah, he's a lower level of Tumah. Nevertheless, he's somewhat Tameh, and he cannot do Avodah. And in fact, if he does the Avodah, he is Mechalel the Avodah. Minol, how do we know this is so? The Tani, we have a Bryce, Rabbi Simoy Omer. Remez L'Tvul Yom. Shim Avad Chilel. We're looking for a remez, a hint, a source of some sort, that if a Tvul Yom does the Avodah, his work becomes pasul. Minayin, how do we know? Talmud Bavli, we have a pasuk, which is in Parshas Emor, addressing the Kohanim. Refrain from doing certain things which are not befitting your status. For instance, becoming Tameh, shaving your beards, pulling out your hair as an expression of mourning. The pasuk says K'doshim you, etc. And then the words V'lo yechalalu. If you do not guard your status, you proceed and do work when you're Tameh, you are being Mechalel. Now, to address a regular Kohen who became Tameh, we already have a pasuk for that elsewhere. Imeinu inyan l'tameh. This pasuk isn't really needed for a regular Tameh. The Nafik. Maybe Nazru. That's been learned the other day from the other pasuk. Nazru because of Bnei Yisrael, warning the Kohen to keep away when they're really Tameh, lest they affect the Karban. So that's known from there. A full-fledged Tameh, we already know. So that's the general rule. When there's an extra pasuk, we look for an address. We look to place it where it's needed. It's neu inyan l'Tvul Yom, apply to a Tvul Yom, who's only somewhat Tameh. And even in that weakened state of Tumah, he shouldn't do work, and if he does, he makes it possible. Ve'emot neu inyan l'kireach karcha. Ulamashchus v'has zakan. Look, the context of the pasuk here in Parshas Emor refers to all kinds of practices that a kohen may not do, ripping out his hair, etc. So perhaps it's going on that fellow. That if in fact he engaged in those activities and he did the avodah, it becomes mechulel. How do we know it's a Tvul Yom? Answers the Gemara. Because really, we find elsewhere that this pasuk just quoted, is connected to a similar pasuk discussing a Tameh eating truma. Right? A Tameh, even a Tvul Yom, may not eat truma. And that pasuk over there, by truma, clearly warns him and tells him consequence is misa, death. And we connect the 2 psukim. We say just like over there, the consequence is misa. Likewise, the infraction discussed in this pasuk of K'doshim Yu, V'lo Yichalu, also generates misa. So since we have that connection, that correlation, so we compare our pasuk to the pasuk by Truma. Tvul Yom dim avad. If a Tvul Yom proceeds and does the avodah, b'misa, he's liable to death. Death b'dei shamayim, by heaven. No, how do we know that's true? That's sourced from Truma, the Gemara. We learn through a connection. The word chilul to chilul by Truma, made Truma. And just like over there, there's misa over here as well. Apparently, it's a similar context. And we compare the pasul betruma only a fellow who's possible to eat truma, i.e., a tamei, a tful yaim. So, likewise, by us, meichel avodah, he affects the avodah. Little possible for truma, but a person who is not possible for truma, even if he ripped his hair out, even that type of kohen is not possible for truma. Likewise, since we have that correlation between our pasuk and truma, what applies there applies here, and lo meichel avodah is not going to be included in this pasuk. So apparently, this pasuk is not speaking about those individuals, so ripping their hair out, etc. Rather, only something which can likewise affect truma, which means a person who's tamei, a person who's a tful yaim. Hence, we have a source from this pasuk, a tful yaim is possible for avodah. Now, interestingly, we have three individuals who are pretty much of similar status. All have gotten entangled with some form of tumah, or haven't freed themselves completely of tumah, and we have a pasuk for each one of them that he in fact is machalal di avodah. Why do we need three psukim? Why don't we just learn one from the other? They're so similar. Amar Rabba, lamali the kasser rachmana. Why does the pasuk have to trouble itself to spell out regarding all three people that they are machalal avodah? We have the tamei, we have the utful yaim, umechusek kippurim, a fellow who had been tamei and immersed in a mikvah, and is just waiting to bring his kippurim, his karbanis, like a zav, a matzorah, who have to bring karbanis in addition to the tvila and the hair of shemesh and nightfall. So he's still somewhat impure. He hasn't yet completed his purification process. And in all three, we have a pasuk, we have a source that they shouldn't be engaging in avodah lest they be machalal di avodah. Why this repetition? Tzrichi, all three are needed. You cannot learn one from the other. Says Rabbah, dikas rachmanut-torah-comment. Had the pasuk only spoken about a real tamei, yeah, that's worse than the rest. Shekain b'tamei, because he can spread his tumah. Perhaps he's more severe than the other ones. B'tful yaim, the Torah only spoke about tful yaim having the status. Mechusek kippurim le'asher minei. You couldn't learn mechusek kippurim from tful yaim because the tful yaim is more severe. Shekain pasal b'truma. You can't eat truma, but a chusek kippurim could eat truma, so you can't compare. And finally, had the Torah only spoke about mechusek kippurim, that he may not do the avodah and his machal the avodah, I can't learn the other ones from it. Tful yaim le'asher minei. I couldn't learn tful yaim from mechusek kippurim because shekain mechusek ma'aser. In contrast to a tful yaim, who's not missing any mass, there's no act for him to do. He has to wait for nature to take to finish the process. Sunset is not something that he must do, as opposed to mechusek kippurim, who's missing a mass. He has to bring his carbon, so perhaps he's more strict and more severe. So you can't learn one from the other. That's why all three are necessary to be spelled out. Asks the Gemara on Rabbah. True, mechadali asi. I can't learn one from the other directly, but teisi chad, I can learn one item mitarta from the other two. Had the Torah only spoke about two, I can make sort of a combined source for the third one. Let's see. Let's explore the options. Bahai, lo lichtav rachmana. Which one should the Torah omit? Okay, lo lichtav mechusek kippurim. Perhaps omit mechusek kippurim, but teisi mehanach, and I'll derive from the other two, tamei and tful yaim. No, I can't. Malahanach shekem psulim betruma. Tamei and tful yaim are more difficult, more severe, more chamer than mechusek kippurim, because in contrast to mechusek kippurim who could eat truma, they can't. So perhaps they're more strict and more severe. So that's not going to work. Ella rather, lo lichtav rachmana b'tful yaim. The Torah can omit mention of chilul avodah by tful yaim, and I'll learn from the other two. From tamei and mechusek kippurim b'teitzi mehanach. To my parchas, how would you theoretically challenge this correlation? Perhaps malahanach shekain mechusar maasa. Perhaps a tamei mechusek kippurim are worse off than the tful yaim because they need to do something. They're missing an action. Tful yaim has to tamei has to immerse. Mechusek kippurim has to bring his karbanis. No, that's not a distinguishing factor, because seif klishala to masay. Let's zero in on the mechusek kippurim. On the one hand, he has yet to bring a carbon. Sounds pretty substantial. But let's realize that his tumah has been so weakened, so diminished. He's gone to the mikveh. He's experienced sundown. There's almost nothing left. So it's as though he's not missing anything. And that allows for a proper comparison between tful yaim and the and the Tameh and the Mechusar Kippurim. You can't say, well, they're missing a Masa. Mechusar Kippurim is not missing a Masa, even though he has to bring a carbon, but he's so diminished in his state of Tumah, so lacking in his Tumah. It's as though he's not missing anything. It's almost negligible. So why can't I learn Tvul Yaim from these two? In other words, it's a kasha on Rabbah, who sought to explain the reason for all three sources, and he sort of presented an equation to justify it. And here we're sort of challenging it. Why do we need all three? Just leave out Tvul Yaim and learn from Tameh and Mechusar Kippurim, who's barely Tameh. And we find that his Mechalal Avodah, certainly the Tvul Yaim. Answer the Gemara, it's not so actually. Because Rabbah holds. You think that Mechusar Kippurim is out of the water, so to speak? Mechusar Kippurim is Zav Kazav Dami. When a Zav experienced a personal emission, personal tumah, even if they immersed, even if they had head of Shemesh, until he brings his kapara, he still maintains a very high level of tumah. It's like an avatumah, a source of tumah. He's not just like a sheni l'tumah, like a regular Tvul Yaim, No. He retains his initial status of tumah. If he eats karbanis, he gets kuris like a regular tumah. He's nothing diminished about it. So, in contrast to a regular tameh, who's not planning on bringing karbanis, who's not required to bring karbanis. So when he's toivel, he has, everything brings him down a level. Tvul Yaim, head of Shemesh, and he's finished. But a fellow who's still bringing a karban, until he brings that karban, he's still tied onto his original tumah in a very big way. So that would explain why you can't learn a Tvul Yaim by comparing him to a regular Tameh and a Mechusar Kippurim, because you can certainly ask. You can certainly challenge that comparison by saying, well, Tvul Yaim is not missing a personal masa. There's nothing that he has to do as opposed to a Tameh. You have to be table as opposed to a Mechusar Kippurim, who's still in a very serious state of tumah until he brings his karban. That explains why the Torah had to spell it out by Tvul Yaim, Tameh, Mechusar Kippurim, because you can't really learn one from the other. Okay, now on this topic, Mechusar Kippurim the Zav. So although he already was toivel, etc., but if he's still prior to the karbanis, ki zav dami, he's treated like a regular zav with all its ramifications. Tanoi, actually it's a machlekes tanoi. Shall we say he retains his initial heightened state of tumah, or perhaps it's been diminished somewhat? The Sanya, we have a discussion regarding a para aduma. Sarfa, who burnt the para aduma, oinein, or Mechusar Kippurim, kshera. It's okay. Rashi brings, because the oinen is only disallowed from a regular karban. Rashi calls it kachem mizbeach, a carbon brought in the Beis Hamikdash, as opposed to bara aduma, which isn't processed in the Beis Hamikdash. It's brought outside in the harazesa and burnt there. It runs on a different track. Rashi calls it kachem bedek habayis. It's considered possession of Beis Hamikdash. It's not an actual carbon in the Beis Hamikdash. So an oinen is okay. Likewise, even a Mechusar Kippurim, a fellow who had not completed his tahara process on a tumah that he experienced. Kshera. Yosef Habavli, he disagrees on one thing. I grant you the Einin. Einin is okay. Einin kshera. But Mechusar Kippurim, psula. Because he's still somewhat tummy. And very tummy. He shouldn't be accessing a paraduma. Tanakama disagrees. Allows him through. Why? Maila, Balkamithli, perhaps the Machlekes revolves around this question. Mar Savar. The second sheet holds Mechusar Kippurim de Zav, Kazav Dami. That a Zav, we're also speaking about a Zav here, right? So a Zav, although he had been Tevel, he had head of Shemesh, nightfall, but he's still lacking his karbanis. He's treated like an original Zav. And a Tameh cannot be involved in paraduma. Pasuk says, you need Ishtar. Tanakama disagrees. He says, look, all he's missing is karbanos. He's not like the original Zav, who's an Av, who's a source of Tumah. No, he's like a Tvul Yaim. Even though he's still missing karbanos, he's like any other Tvul Yaim. His Tumah state has diminished. And therefore, as Rashi says, just like every Tvul Yaim is kosher, he's allowed to be involved in paraduma. Typically, a Tvul Yaim cannot do karbanos like we had in Amud Aleph. But paraduma is different, to that extent that a Tvul Yaim can be involved. Mechusar Kippurim is no worse than a Tvul Yaim. So that seems to be the machlekes. Marsav alav kazav dami. No, he says we're not necessarily so. The Kul Yalma perhaps all agree. Kazav dami. A Mechusar Kippurim of a Zav is treated like a Zav. So in fact, regarding other karbanos, where a Tvul Yaim is not allowed, likewise, a Mechusar Kippurim certainly is not allowed. He's even worse off. There's no question. So what's the question regarding paraduma? The answer is paraduma is not really a regular karban. And in fact, as we're going to see in a minute, a Tvul Yaim can be involved in paraduma. So the question here is, do we allow even a fellow in this state who is a Zav, and right, rather than touching a mace or which is really the topic of discussion in the parsha of paraduma, right? The paraduma is meant to address a person who had touched a dead person, right? Tumas mace. So it's Tvul Yaim of a Tumas mace is okay. He can deal with the paraduma. But what about a Tvul Yaim of a Zav? A different type of tumah, which is not really discussed and addressed in Parshas Chukas. Is that different or not? Interesting question. Again, typically a Tvul Yaim regarding other karbanos, keep away. Paraduma, green light, go ahead. As we're going to see in a minute, there's an implication in the pasuk that allows him. But being that the parsha, the discussion regarding paraduma relates to tumas meis, so perhaps only a Tvul Yaim of tumas meis, or likewise if you touched a dead, creature or a carcass, okay, they're similar in a way. They're even lighter than tumas meis. So a Tvul Yaim of that type of situation is allowed. But a zav is a totally different entity. It's a personal tumah, internally produced tumah. Perhaps a person who was a Zav and then became a Tvul Yaim of a Zav, perhaps he doesn't have that leniency. He can't get involved in the paraduma. That's the point of discussion. That's the question. So it's a side point. A specific question regarding paraduma and its allowances. Over here, Machlekes revolves around understanding the pasuk. The pasuk says only a person who's pure can sprinkle the water. And that's an extra pasuk, as Rashi says. It already said that has to be a tar. The extra pasuk is telling you he needs to be somewhat tar. But he still has some lingering tumah. He's halfway there. And this tells you that even a Tvul Yaim is allowed to be involved in paraduma, unlike other karbanos. Limeid comes to teach us al Tvul Yaim shekasher b'par. The question is, to what extent? How far-reaching is this allowance? A Tvul Yaim of any tumah, or specifically to the tumas discussed in that Parshas Chukas? Mar Savar, Tumah D'Chalater Kula. Tanakam says, any type of tumah, even Zav, if it's in a diminished state, he's already Tvul Yaim, green light for paraduma. Mar Savar, Tumah D'Ch Parsha. Yisrael Bavli disagrees. It's only a specific allowance for any type of tumah discussed in this Parsha, Hilkach therefore. Some take out the word Einin, because that's not part of our discussion. Tvul Yaim, right? A Tvul Yaim of either the nevela, that animal, v'tmeim sheret, they touch the creature, the kili, which are lighter than the other types of tumas like a dead person. Also, b'kal v'chayim v'tvul yaim de meis. So that's derived based on a kal v'chayim. If even a tvul yaim of a meis, if you touch the meis, the tvul yaim of that type of tumah is okay, as per the Parshas Chukas, which is speaking about tmei meis. Certainly, if you touch the dead animal, etc., of course, it sort of falls under the same category. But a zav, totally different brand of tumah. Aval mechusar kapurim the zav, but a zav who's in a weakened state of tumah. He hasn't yet brought his karbanos, etc. The chamer, which in a way is more strict. Shekain tumah yoytala migufay. It's a self-produced, self-generated personal tumah. That's different. Unless he fully purifies himself, finishes the whole process. He's toivel, herav shemesh, and karbanis. He's out from the paraduma. Okay, interesting. So we had a question: why mention chilul avoda by tamei? Rabbi explained it. Then regarding the zav, is he treated like a real zav? The more I thought we had a machlokes, the more I concluded perhaps he is considered like an original zav. Regarding paraduma, it's a whole different discussion, because over there we allow the involvement of an individual somewhat tamei, as long as it's a diminished state of tumah. The question is, does it apply to all tumahs, including zav, or just specific ones? Next on the list is a kohen who's missing his attire. A regular kohen is meant to wear the 4 special garments, the kohen gadol, the 8 special garments. If he's missing any of them, he cannot do avodah, and it's possible. Minol, how do we know? Amar Ravo, Amar B'yechim. Umotu Barsam quoted it Mishmei Reb Lezer, Reb Shimon. Damakor, the pasuk says, "V'chagar ta'isim avneit." Instructions to Moshe Rabbeinu: strap on their belts, iron abonav, v'chabash lemigbaris their hands, v'oiselem kuna lechukas. It's an absolute system. Chukah means a chayk, absolute, and this gives them kahuna. This gives them their priesthood, their ability to serve. We learn bizman shebigdeim aleim, when their clothing are on them, they're wearing their uniforms, kunasim aleim, they're considered in a state of kuhuna. They're able to serve. Ein bigdeim aleim, but if they're lacking their begadim, ein kunasim aleim, their kuhuna status is removed. They don't have the ability to serve in the Beis HaMikdash. And Rashi adds, 2 lines from the bottom, Alma kuhunas and tului b'bigdeim, their kuhuna status is dependent upon their attire. V'iloi, without begadim havlu zar, they're like strangers. And we know that if you're a stranger, meaning they're like Yisraelim, with respect to serving in the Mikdash. Ubazar ashchan the machal avodah. And if you're a zar, we already learned earlier, you're machal the avodah. So you get downgraded to the status of a regular person, a zar, in which case if you do avodah, it's mechula. So in this pasuk we see it all. Without begadim, it's machal. V'hamachan afka, this halacha is learned from this pasuk. Masam nafka. We seem to learn it from a different pasuk. The Sani, we have a brayso. From where do we know that if a kohen drank wine, too much wine, shem ava tchil, if he served in that state, it's machal di avodah. Tamulema. Pasuk says yain v'sheich altesh, don't drink. But lahavdol, the pasuk continues. The consequence is it's going to obstruct the avodah. Separate from the kodesh and chayil, meaning if it's done improperly, it's chayil, it's no avodah, it's pasul. So that applies to a shtui yain. Kohen who's drunk. Mechusa begadim, what about it? He's missing begadim. Or shalai rechutz v'dan raglayim minayin. How do we know that if he didn't wash his hands and feet before doing avodah, that it has the same consequence? We have a gzera shava. Because there is a pasuk regarding Shtuya yain, the drunk kohen. By the way, it doesn't just mean drunk. He drank more than a revius, right? A revius or more. So there it says the word chukas olam. And likewise, by the kohen missing begadim, we just had the pasuk where it says, right, chukas olam, connected two contexts. And just like by Shtuya yain, if he served, it's mechalel, as per the pasuk we just mentioned, right, lahavd. Likewise, mechusa begadim has that same consequence. So according to this brayso, mechusar begadim is derived from shtuya yain, whereas Rabbi Avo quoted a pasuk to this effect by mechusar begadim per se, not from shtuya yain. So which one's the source? Says the Gemara, both are needed for different reasons. If only from the pasuk, the gzera shava, I would say hanimili, that's only applicable by the avodah the zar chayav aleho misa. Only on a specific type of work, which if done by a zar, he's chayav misa, which is a very specific list Rashi brings dafka certain avodas, which are completions, like zrika, etc. There, if a Yisrael does it, he gets misa. Because in the pasuk regarding shtu yayin, it also warns him, don't do it and you'll get misa. And again, it only applies to very specific, distinct forms of work, zrika, etc., which are completions, not as opposed to, let's say, hoylacha, which is sort of, part of a greater process. Only those that are considered distinct and culminating, acts of avodah. So misa only applies to those. So perhaps mechusar begadim, which connects to shtuya yayin, which only speaks about, the pasuk only speaks about misa related avodas. So perhaps mechusar begadim is also regarding those avodas only. Avol avoda ze'ein zor chayav la misa, but regarding an avoda which doesn't have the misa consequence by a zor, or likewise by a kohen who's drunk. So perhaps, likewise, if he's missing begadim, there's no chilul avoda kamashman. That's why we need another pasuk. No begadim, no kohen. No kohen, yes zor, yes chilul. Ashkan mechusar begadim. Okay, so now we have the extra pasuk that mechusar begadim affects any avoda, not just those specific ones. So now back to shtu yayin. No, how do we know shtu yayin also affects all the avodah? We don't have a pasuk for all avodas. Okay, asher chuka chuka mechusar begadim. So we make a reverse zereshava, a reverse connection. Chuka chuka. Just like mechusar begadim applies to all avodas equally, likewise shtu yayin. Ask the Gemara. Hold it. But in this brisa, we seem to be going the other direction. The Tana quoted the pasuk lahavdil bein v'chulu. Kanasla, he quoted that pasuk as a source. The shtu yayin is machal di avodah. Now we're saying, well, we have zereshava. He derives from mechusar begadim. Yeah, Mekam is like Gzera Shava. That price was before he established the Gzera Shava. Once you have the Gzera Shava, we learn Shtu Yayin is Mechal Avodah from Mechusar Begadim. Ask the Gemara, what do you mean? V'atana Mechusar Begadim Hu de Koyalav Mishtu Yayin. Take a look again at that price. Even when the price presents that Gzera Shava on the top line, Gzera Shava, which direction? It was in the other direction. It was to show how mechusar begadim learns from shtu yayin, and now you're saying the other way around. Hachikama, the brisa meant like this. Initially, we thought that in fact we're learning from shtu yayin, but then the brisa came around and said, 1 second. Shtu yayin is speaking about very specific, those specific avodas, not all the avodas. But now minayin shaloi nachlik ben mechusar begadim l'shtu yayin v'shalei rechutz yadayim raglayim. How do we know not to differentiate between mechusar begadim, shtu yayin, failed to wash his hands and feet? Meaning, how do we know that it applies to all avodas equally, just like mechusar begadim does? Talmud Bavli, that's why we have the Gzera Shava now going the other way. Chuka chuka Gzera Shava, just like by mechusar begadim, where it says chuka, his lack of attire affects any avodah that he's engaged in. Likewise, shtu yayin and a fellow who didn't wash his hands and feet are mechal any type of avodah. Okay, so now that we switched gears, and mechusar begadim is providing the goods to the other ones, elo lahavdil lamli. So why do we need a pasuk of lahavdil ben hakodesh nachal by shtu yayin? It's not teaching us anything. Coming to teach us something else, something similar, but a little different. Look at the Rav. As per Rav's practice, because Rav used to teach halacha, give a shir, halacha l'maisa, and he was very careful. The Rav le'moikim amoira. Amoira was the like a fellow with a loud voice. He was like the announcer. He would call out the words of the Rav, who didn't necessarily have the strongest voice. So the amoira would get up and speak like a loudspeaker, and Rav would not get him up, meaning Rav would not present his lecture, his shir. The Rav le'moikim amoira miyoyma tov l'chavrei, between today Yom Tov and tomorrow Yom Tov, meaning once he had his Yom Tov meal today, That's it. We're off until tomorrow. To let the wine saturate and uncloud his mind. He was concerned about giving a shear after having drunk wine on Yom Tov. Mishum Shichrus, concerned about drunkenness, which doesn't allow teaching halachas as the pasuk. So he learned it from this pasuk, which sort of hints to this halacha as well. Pasuk warns the Kehanim, don't drink wine, right? So speaking about the Avodah Beis Hamikdash, but then it says Ulahavdil ben hakodesh ben hachol. And we learn as a drasha that it's coming to cover even a chacham, a lecturer, a teacher, a rav, in terms of promoting differences between kodesh l'chol, meaning when he's teaching halachas, what's allowed, what's not allowed, he has to have perfect clarity, unclouded by any sort of obstruction or dizziness resulting from drinking wine. So that's the application of this pasuk. Okay, we'll continue B'ezras Hashem tomorrow. In the meantime, we discussed the source of Tvul Yaim, B'mechalal Avoda. We explained why we need a pasuk for all three, Tamid, Tvul Yaim, Mechusar Kippur. We discussed who can process the paraduma. We discussed an idea called Mechusar Kippurim Dezav Kezav Dami. Then we went on to Mechusar Begadim. We had one source, then we had Gzeira Shava. We need the Gzeira Shava because had we only learned it from Shtu Yayin, it would cover only specific avodas. Now that's why we need a pasuk specifically by Mechusar Begadim to tell you, no Begadim, he's like a zar, which affects any avodah. And then we learn others, like Shtu Yayin and Shleir Chutz Raglaim Raglaim from Mechusar Begadim. Likewise, their infractions would affect what they do. And then an interesting halacha that Rav was careful to only present his lecture in a moment of clarity. All the best to you, Natzlacha Rav.